I've spent my career studying prey animals. I wanted to know how good a creature could get at hiding, and I don't mean camouflage or mimicry. Perfect hiding. Obviously, there is a glaring issue with that question. How could you know? But I didn't let that stop me. I studied for years, eventually getting my PhD in zoology, specializing in prey creatures. I almost gave up hope on answering my question, but then something happened. I was doing a research paper with a friend. She had found the corpse of a street cat that had markings unlike anything she had ever seen. I still remember her knocking on my door at 3 a.m. "Sean, wake up." Her voice echoed through my empty house from the other side of the door. I grumbled and dragged my way over to her. "Sue." I yawned and wiped the sleep from my eyes. "What are you doing?" Then she lifted the animal up. I could see her trying to contain the excitement. You don't want to be a person having a giddy laugh while holding a dead cat after all. I looked at the creature and immediately noticed what she wanted me to notice. Its neck had been snapped, but it had been snapped too much in a way. We brought it in and did an autopsy. She estimated that its head had spun around 4 times in a single motion. Sue always got too excited at anomalies. It was her weakness as a scientist. "Why did you bring this to me?" I glanced over to her, dreading any possible response. "It died on my doorbell camera. Watch." She pulled out her phone and shoved it in my face. I watched as the same tabby cat walked in front of her house. The microphone picked up its yowling, a fearful cry. Suddenly, the camera's static blurred around the cat, and the cries stopped, masked by a wet crunch. The static softened and the cat wasn't moving. "You're always talking about your perfect hider. What if it's not prey at all?" Her eyes glistened as she looked at me. I considered that, but it made more sense. I stared blankly at the phone screen. But what predator kills without eating? "No, that SA prey defending itself. You saw the video. The cat was scared. It was being hunted, not the other way around." She shot back. "I mean, some predators do surplus killing, but that is a response to lots of easy prey, not going out and finding the prey. It's almost like a sport hunter." I ran my fingers through my hair. We continued through the night, analyzing the cat, discussing plans to catch the thing that killed it, while Sue obsessively replayed the video, pausing at each frame to pick apart every detail. The next day came and Sue fell asleep on my couch. I dragged myself to my bed and collapsed face down into the pillows. Sleep took me before I knew it, and then in the next moment I woke up to my bed creaking as the spot next to me sunk under weight. "Sue." I croaked out, "What's up?" I was met by silence. Not even the sound of breathing, nor the ticking of my clock or even the hum of the fridge. I rolled over to look, my vision still milky from sleep. I saw a vague, shadowy shape contrasted against the light through the open window behind it. It looked somewhat humanoid, shoulders that were broad and loose, almost like someone tucked into themselves. Still waking up, I thought Sue just didn't hear me, so I spoke louder. "Sue, what are you doing?" "Ha." I heard her call from the hall. A shiver ran down my spine and my breath caught in my throat. I blinked and suddenly the shape was gone. Sue came into the room, leaning against the doorframe. You weren't in here. I looked over to her, my vision slowly coming into focus. No. You're not my type. She laughed, glancing at the ring on her finger. I just thought I saw you sitting there, I sighed, my breath shaky. Your sleep paralysis is back, she suggested as she walked away. I sat up, taking a deep breath. She had a point. I have a history of episodes like that, the kind where you wake up and see something in the corner of your room. I looked over to the spot the shape was sitting, and I thought I saw a depressed shape slowly rising up. The heavy duvet fibers were returning to their original shape. But I still don't know if it was the remnants of sleep or if it was something real. Eventually I got out of bed. My mind was racing with what had happened when I came across Sue in my kitchen drinking a coffee, smiling faintly while texting her wife. Say it was a predator, I began, as I poured myself a cup. Oh, now you're interested. She laughed as she stared at me. Hush. Say it was a predator, and say it was my creature that killed the cat. Why did your camera glitch out like that? I asked, taking a sip from my drink. The camera has been on the fritz for a while now. I keep telling myself to replace it, but you know. She replied with a tinge of regret. So it does stuff like that often. I leaned against the wall. Yeah, random spots of the camera go all fuzzy. I think it's just an age thing. I'm still not sure if she was asking me or herself. So, if this were my creature, are we saying it somehow knew when and where your camera would glitch to stay hidden? I laughed as I said, both at myself and at the ridiculousness of the situation. We weren't saying anything like that. Are you kidding me? I don't even know when and where it would glitch, it's just shit luck. There was spite in her words, almost like she was offended I would suggest that. Right, I dunno, I must still be waking up. I sighed as I rubbed the bridge of my nose. The rest of that day continued as per usual, at least as usual as it could be with an autopsied cat in my basement. Sue worked away for hours, and in the evening, I went for a walk to clear my head. The sun had set and my path was illuminated by soft starlight and harsh yellow streetlights as I traveled to a nearby park. The park where I first discovered my love of animals when I saw two squirrels playing together. I sat down on a bench and looked around. Every time your eyes move, you go blind for a fraction of a second. You don't notice. Your brain lies to you. It stitches the world back together and you basically hallucinate the difference. My mind wandered for a bit, the creature hiding in the saccades. My eyes jumped from a tree, to lamppost, to shadow, to stars, to the path before me. I exhaled and closed my eyes, letting myself have a moment of rest. I started talking to myself, although I don't think that's a proper way to phrase it. Invisible creatures that can tell when a camera is going to glitch and hides in your blind spots. I'm losing my fucking mind. I laughed, a laugh that was cut short. I felt a shiver run down my spine as the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. A thought entered my head. I still don't know where it came from. What if the hairs on the back of your neck standing is a response to a breath softly brushing against your skin? I then got that gut feeling that I was being watched. In response to that thought, or in response to something else, I still don't know. Everything in me was screaming, don't turn around. Freezing behavior. When a prey knows they're in lethal danger, they lock up and don't move. I sometimes wondered what it felt like, and in that moment I knew. The air grew colder around me, as I noticed that same silence. A silence that deafened everything, drowning out even the sound of my heartbeat, only to be broken with one noise. A breath from behind me. I jolted around by instinct, only to see an empty field. Then I looked down and saw prints in the grass, slowly rising and hiding themselves. Prints that lead right to my bench. I got up and ran home as fast as I could, finding my door locked. I fumbled with my keys, trying to get the right one, when I heard it again. The silence. I didn't realize that there were cars driving by until I couldn't hear them anymore. I didn't realize the birds were chirping until they stopped. And I didn't realize the shadow until there was no sound, not my shadow, but one next to it.